Hi guys, this is just a quick look at the new version of SCI, or Adams 2 as I'm actually calling it. You'll notice that when I open SCI here, I've got this little window with two options. Clicking this one will bring up the version of SCI that everybody is used to. So this is the current version of SCI, and you are all used to running it. Except for, you'll notice that the build version's saying 2. Clicking this button will bring up this window, which shows us our new version. You'll notice that we get this nice lovely window showing everything. I'm going to adjust this a little bit so that we can look at it a little larger here. So this is the current version, and the thing here is I can actually drag this over onto another screen where it's out of the way for a moment. So we've got the banner, some information about the software, such as the current version, warning to make certain that you have an internet connection before continuing, to report any issues on the forums, and the licensing information. You'll notice that this is not open source, so be aware of that. File will allow you to exit. View, you can turn the status bars and toolbar off. Tools, you've got some options here. You can set the number of last flights that are shown when you log in, to despawn, remember your user details, etc, etc. 9line will bring up the 9line CAS page. The Windows page allows you to rapidly adjust these. I'm going to log in here, but if you notice, this is in plain text. It doesn't go star 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 anymore, because of the change in where this is. If you give me a moment, I'm going to hide the side window, type in my password and hit login, and bring it back up. You'll notice I've got prepared running in the background. It will run with prepared or flight sim, as long as the flight sim SimConnect client is installed. Now I'm logging in. You'll notice that I've got a couple of little bits here showing up. That's because I've actually got an aircraft booked. So what I'm going to do straight off the bat here is I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to unbook 206 so I can show you what's going on. So you'll notice I just tap release. It releases it without moving it, but it doesn't file a flight or anything like that. So here, if we have a look, you'll notice I can bring this up full screen, I can shrink it down. Standard windows, we can make this larger, we can shrink it down, whatever we need. We've got our pilot, our rank, our VATSIM ID, our total hours, night hours, instructing hours, total flights, your category system on here. Ignore that this is playing up. For some reason it wasn't 5 seconds ago. It just means some credentials weren't sent properly. We can see the last couple of flights. We can see our endorsements and if they're active or not, and we can see our recent flights here, which is what's being shown here. So with that done, we can actually just close this out. We don't have to worry about it. And bring it back up if we want, just by clicking. So from there we can go book our aircraft. So we've got our aircraft booking option here. We can select the squadron we want. In this case I'm going to select 36 Squadron. I'm sitting in a C-17 after all. You'll notice that it starts going through. We get the aircraft numbers. I'm at Amberley, so I'm going to grab 206 for the moment. If you take a look, we can see all the various call signs for the squadron for use when you need to file your flight plan with that sim. We can book the aircraft by clicking here. It will tell you here, aircraft booking successful. Please remember that you need to file the flight once done. If you're not planning on flying the airframe anytime soon, please release it back to the system. So it's booked. You'll notice that I can just tap release if I'm on something where it's not, but if I'm on another airframe, it'll tell me that I've got unavailable because I can't have two bookings. I can tap release here and it would release it back to where it was without me flying it. It's not going to move it at all. Release and move will release it and move it to my current location if I'm connected to the sim. You've got to be connected to the sim for this to work. Okay, so that's all we'd need to do there. We've got that booked. We could go into our air tasking orders. This is just like on the website, only you've got a little bit more detail. You can pull up the squadron you're after. We're going to say all tasks and double click, it'll bring up the task. Clicking accept will accept the task for you. There's a small bug in this build, for some reason this isn't auto updating, but if we do this we'll see that it's assigned it to me. And we can just, if we don't want the task, you know, say we've done it wrong, we could tap release task and it'd release it. You'll notice that we have flight filing here. This is exactly like on the website, so it knows what aircraft you're in because you've got it booked. You need to be connected to the sim for this part to work. You'll notice if I fetch, it's like, well, you're over here, the closest airport to you is all the way over here. It's because it doesn't know where I am, it's thinking I'm out here. If we jump over to simulation control here, and we connect me to the sim, you'll notice we've got lat longs and it's moved me. If I move me to my aircraft, it does that like normal. Now if I tap fetch here, it's worked out that I'm over in Amberley. I can fill in task numbers, so if I've got a task, we can tell it that it's a task, it'll auto fill out just like on the website. Stick the date in, day, month, year. Stick the number of hours for flying. If you're an instructor, it will allow you to enter this data. If you're not an instructor on a flight, it will not. I'm going to have to check something there. It should not have done that. I've got a couple of small errors happening in there that'll show up on the really long flights, but I will fix those shortly. if you're rear seat, you tick this, and it once the main person, so one person would book the aircraft, and you just they'd file their flight plan. Then the instructor would book the aircraft briefly, come in, tick that box, and file their flight plan. The CAT system stuff's down here. It only shows up the one available for what you want, and the file flight will file and release the aircraft to wherever it is right at the moment, as depicted by the red dot just here. So the other changes to this, we're going to release this task back to the system, is we can connect and disconnect from the sim by just clicking over here. What happens though if we just use these buttons is it defaults to the default values. So if we change this to get updates from RAF from the server at 10 minutes and start the traffic, this will be polling and attempting to get traffic every 10 minutes. So it's updating the static traffic ID every 10 minutes. If we just clicked over on here, however, it would be running every 15 minutes. It just defaults. You will notice that despite the fact that this is ticking away, we don't have a massive aircraft. We've got 10 spawned in at the moment. There'll be a bunch behind us. We've got a couple spawning in there, a couple over there, and in a short moment we'll have some spawning in around us here. And that's it. That's because the traffic now only spawns in if it's within 40 nautical miles of you, and once you exceed 45 nautical miles it goes away. So there's no more mass loading of data and the like to drive you insane. So that's the majority of where the beta release version of SCI will be. The airdrop control stuff is not actually functioning, and this will be turned off for the first release. So you'll click on this and it'll just say not available. If you want to log out, you tap the log out up here and it will close everything out. It'll disconnect you from the sim and the like. Just be aware that it will show your password. When you're done, you need to close this window, but SCI's not actually closed yet. You'll notice it's still got this one. This has to be the last thing closed, at least until version 2 becomes fully active. Close that, SCI's closed, and we're done. So yeah, that's just a quick look at the upcoming version of SCI / C# Atoms. Thanks.